Hi, welcome to the shop. A little different today, even though I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. It's rainy and kind of muggy and cool, which is a stark contrast to the last time I was in the shop where we had snow and abnormally cold weather. We got down to minus 15 there for a while. Just brutal, pipe bursting. We're not used to it. And my mother, her house had some catastrophic pipe failure, and she's been basically without water for a couple weeks. And finally the plumbers were just backed up and just trying to get to it. But down here doing something a little different, I kind of came to the realization that I have so many projects that are unfinished that I really needed to just quit laying around on the couch and whenever I had downtime and actually get some stuff done. So what I'm doing, I'm going to try to get this particular decoy wrapped up. Now this decoy is it's kind of unique. It's and for me it's got some I would say somewhat sentimental value. That sound right there is it's hollowed on the inside, and that is one of my dog tags that I wore while I was in Afghanistan. The duck itself was conceived and born in Afghanistan as well. It's made of balsa and some unknown wood. Don't know what species it is because it was all just found wood that I found on the fob. Basically worked it with nothing more than a really sharp pocket knife. And the balsa wood, if you can see these red lines, that is the thickness of the wood. It was a filler wood in an Air Force 463L pallet, which is a standardized pallet that fits in cargo airplanes and is used to palletize loads. And a forklift tore one up. They would bring them into the fob, manhandle them. Of course, you know, soldiers. A light stick is a soldier's favorite piece of equipment because they break it and then they can still use it. But they brought the pallet in actually with a CH-47 helicopter because you can transfer intermodal cargo from tactical airlift to Army aircraft and move it around. Anyway, soldier stuck a fork in it, tore the aluminum skin off of it, and the thing was basically discarded. I found it, realized it was balsa, and I went, I can keep that. Now, the head is another piece of found wood. It was beautiful to carve, but it was a packing crate to a South African made mine roller that went on the front of our MRAPs, our mine resistant anti-ambush. I don't really know what an MRAP stands for, but we had them, thankfully. But it was a mine roller for it. They came in, brought them in, technicians went through, took them out of the crate, threw the crates aside, and I found that, and it carves beautifully. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's some South African species or something else. But anyway, that's kind of what this decoy is. But you notice I've reworked the bill and stuff because I wasn't really happy with it, with just what I did with pocket knives and stuff. So I after I got home, it went up on the shelf. In fact, it wasn't even assembled in Afghanistan, just the chunks of it, and I've kind of put it together. But I'm rambling at this point. Let me explain to you what we're getting ready to do. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the glass eyes for this. 10 millimeter glass eyes. If you look at the nape of the neck or this part of the head, my intent was for this to be a male. I was constrained by the dimension of the lumber. That's the reason why this is not longer. It probably should be a female based on the length of it, but I want to keep it a male. and keep it as I intended, even though it's not quite as long. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the glass eyes. A couple of good reference material books that I kind of drew inspiration on. Of course, I got this after I got home, and but this is a book by Tom Mattis, and it covers a wood duck. It covers the eyes, different ways to do the eyes. He kind of points out some of the ways that he does eyes. Now his was basically an antique style, and but he went ahead and used glass eyes. And he uses blended eyes, which on a drake look really good because they have that dark ring around them, like you can see there. I tend to buy the cheaper eyes that are just the solid with a black pupil. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to use some clear glass beads and paint my own pupil and irises on, and that's kind of what we're going to cover today. But these are all good books. Most of the red eyes that I have on hand are for canvas backs, so they don't quite work for the wood ducks, but the wood ducks in here, this book covers the wood ducks, and female wood duck. These are actually called Carolina wood ducks, which that's what a non-Carolina wood duck is. I think what we have right here. Anyway, as you can see, the head, probably based on the shape, probably should be a female, because if you look at the female, it's a little bit shorter. You see it's a little bit shorter, but I was constrained by the dimensions of the wood. So, but it's going to be a male. Okay, this is an example of a commercially bought red eye. This is what I use primarily on my canvas back decoys. As you can see from this one I've started here, that's not final paint, that's base coats, by the way. But that's what the commercial red eyes look like. Here, I bought those off eBay. There's 100 clear glass beads. They're round with a flat back. Bought them off of eBay, 100 of them for like $4. These eyes right here are about $4 a pair. So I thought I can probably make those. But the problem being is consistency of getting the pupil right and then getting it centered. And believe it or not, that's harder than it looks, because the shape of the eyes you're holding it is a little bit misleading, and you think you're in the center and you're not. So anyway, but the good thing about it, I'm using this Jansen's Art acrylic paint. The good thing it is put it on, doesn't look right, dip it in water, scrub it off, dry it, try it again. Now, consistency of pupil size. Initially, I tried using a brush, and that became almost impossible. Okay, so what I did is I made a pupil tool. This is a bamboo skewer, shaped it down to the size I wanted, sanded it, made it round, and basically I stick it in the paint, and then I touch it to the back of the eye. You can see the little red dots where I've tried, or little black dots where I tried it. Another thing that I learned is that these eyes are considerably thicker when viewed on edge than the commercial ones. And so the distortion is considerable. The size of that pupil is probably pretty close to its actual size, but when you put a small dot on the back of these round ones, so when you turn it over, the dot is huge. Okay, so in looking at that, they're about the same. Okay, so then after you paint the pupil, you let it dry, wash it off if you need to, if you don't got it, then go back in with, and the color I'm using is this Naphthol red. Okay, you can darken it up a little bit if you need to with a little umber or Cinia, and then the pupil is just carbon black. Okay, so dip it in. Touch it. Makes a good black dot. Okay.
It all starts with an invitation to experience Lexus. The Invitation to Lexus sales event.
Lease the 2021 NX300 for $359 a month for 36 months, and we'll make your first month's payment.
Experience amazing.
Led by their terrific SID Jim Conrad.
I like that.
The Cougars are off the bus, 5:30 Eastern Time.
Still looks huge.
Houston and Memphis. Part 2.
It's 2 millimeter.
Classic on Sunday, which ended at the buzzer on Tremont Marks' bank shot from inside a half court, 67-64.
We'll see.
Houston a winner.
Okay. Tried to get the other end of that one stick small enough to where it'd make a difference. Couldn't really do it, so I just opted to take a toothpick, and believe it or not, it's about 2 millimeter, and then when you turn it over, like I say, it's really going to be big. But those are some that I've got done. The ones on the far left are the toothpick. The ones to the right of the factory red eye, that's the 3 millimeter, and other attempts. These are the ones I tried putting a little darker coat over the red just to darken it up a little bit. They're probably going to be unusable because I think the pupil's going to wind up being too big. But anyway, we'll see how it works. But that's just something to kind of toy around with if you are kind of into doing things yourself rather than just buying ready-made stuff. Okay, got the eyes put in, or no, not put in, but I got the eyes painted. Got some dry fitted to see how they look. A little worried about the thickness of the eye, thinking that might cause too much distortion on the eye. But in reality, it gives it a kind of a lifelike follow, a person around the room kind of feel. So I don't know if that's because of that or that's just something I noticed for the first time. But anyway, I kind of like them. They're just dry fitted in there. Later, we will put them in with 2-part epoxy sculpt and get those put in there. But anyway, that's how you can make some eyes out of out of some inexpensive material, just like the rest of the decoy. It's not a competition grade. It's not meant to be. It is a handmade, unique, one of a kind. Probably nothing like it ever in the world again, but that's okay. So we're gonna get those put in. This will be a separate video. We'll get that up as soon as we get a chance to. So thank you. Go make some shavings. You'll feel better. I want to explain the construction of this a little bit better. I kind of rambled earlier. These scales on the side, as I call them scales because of the construction that I used. I have a center board that goes all the way through, and the keel is actually a part of that board. It's all one piece. Okay. I did put some dowels in this just to give this a little more strength because you could possibly break that off because it's going with the grain. The grain runs this way and you could easily break it off. But anyway, I made a center profile with that center board, cut a oval out of it so it's hidden behind this, and then that's where that dog tag is. These are just scraps balsa from that 463L pallet, glued this way and then shaped. Okay, so you can see the construction there. The tail is its own piece of scrap wood that's inserted You can see that it is inserted into that center board, and then it's got a dowel also that keeps it from wiggling around or, you know, give it additional strength. This is the head that I talked about that is out of that unknown lumber from the shipping crate. Beautiful wood. Needed to get a little bit longer, so I made a little spacer right there to give it a little more height. Once again, I could not make this any longer because that is the dimension of the packing crate. Okay, this is the eye that's drilled for that 10 millimeter. And I've got, once I get the eye set, I will go in and I will reseal this with spar varnish, which is what everything else is sealed up in. This decoy is incredibly light. It probably, I don't have a scale on it, but I'm going to say that it weighs less than a pound, which if it was a solid piece of pine or basswood or something like that, it would be heavy. But kind of like the looks of the, you know, wood ducks have a peculiar bill. They're not a typical dabbling duck like a mallard, even though they're kind of in that same classification. Their bill is for cracking gopher acorns and stuff like that, so it's a completely different look. But hopefully that gives you the way I built that. You can see that bottom board running all the way through here, and I was able to then get a little separation of the primary flight feathers just by not closing that gap up with the center board. So I think it's gonna look kind of cool, and like I say, it's got some sentimental value and some, you know, it'll be something that I can give to my grandson Gideon, or my son-in-law who's kind of taken up duck hunting. But that's kind of a little better explanation of the construction of this particular decoy. Go make some shavings, you'll feel better.